Hey, welcome everybody. We're just laughing here at the office. We're talking about videos. I don't know if you guys have been watching our Instagram lately, but one of our agents taught us how to use Sora. Is it Sora? Sure. It's an app for AI videos. So if you haven't, you guys should try that app out. It's keeping us entertained. Oh yeah, sorry. At the beginning there, Gisela, I was muted. Good morning, everybody. I'm busy. I always forget that we have a paging system. Cara, actually, no, don't pick up. I don't know. I don't know. I'm scared. Good morning. I should say good afternoon. I guess it is 12. It's a very interesting time for us. Good morning. We'll give a few people time to log in. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, Margaret. You guys can all hear me. Oh, I didn't even put my proper mics on, actually. That's okay. We're going to use our real voices today. I'm gonna say good afternoon now. Ooh, good morning from BC. Got Kim there. I think we've got our Saskatchewan crew back, which is fun. The link? Yeah. Did you give it to them? Who was it? Ali. Hmm. Hopefully Ali's tuning in then from Instagram. I guess if anyone does message on there, you probably have the link. See, those videos work, guys. I did a test this week. I wanted to see if I could get more attention on our training session. So one of our agents introduced us to an AI app or an AI, I think it's a social media TikTok that's just AI video. So none of the videos are real. So if you scroll, it's just a bunch of crazy videos. And one of our agents, Mo, taught me how to use it the other day. And now I've just been making all these videos. So I posted one this morning of me falling, falling down a deck. Did you see that one? I don't know. Yes, I said, help me tour a home and like make me fall or something like that, or a beach house. And then it was literally me falling down a deck. And then yesterday I just said, make a tour of me or touring a luxury home. And like, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but it said, I'm just leaving my luxury house, but she's closing the door and walking inside the house. But then the outside of the house is inside the house. So if you really pay attention, like it looks really professional for a minute, and then you're like, wait. So there's a lot of fun out there with some AI videos. So maybe I'll do a session on that. I just had an agent ask me how I got comfortable talking on video. I do get that question quite often. I told her I started in the car. So when I first got into videos, I went to Tom Ferry's sessions. He's Mike Ferry's son, actually, which we're going to be going to in a couple of weeks. But Tom Ferry was all about videos. And once I heard that, I just sat in my car and started reading scripts off, posting it on Instagram. So if you're looking to get into video, start in your car by yourself. The lighting's good. You can put a little script. And now with AI, honestly, you can just throw your face on there and write the script, except it's only a 10-second video, but that's how you get comfortable pretty much on video. Doesn't need to be scripted, but once you start doing it, just like anything else, it gets a little bit easier. But there's definitely way better people out there than even what I'm doing, but I copy quite a few. So let's get to this, guys. We are on week 5. I'm going to be trying something a little different. Let's see if this works. Perfect. You guys can see that. Why does it look like that? There we go. All right, so we're all tuning in. We are on our week 5, if you can believe it. So if you guys are just tuning in for the first time, I know I got a lot of new people on Instagram asking for the link. I'm just gonna cut those. Sorry. So we're in week 5. So over the last 4 weeks. This is always the session that we do at the beginning of September, October, just to kind of remind you guys. So if you're a brand new agent, usually like you're learning a whole bunch of ways on how to run your business. We started off on like how to find clients, what to do when you get those clients, what a consultation looks like, how to keep your clients happy throughout the process, and all of that stuff. So this is a really good session if you're brand new, but also if you're experienced, you're going to probably pick up a few extra tips and tricks that maybe you haven't been doing in your processes. And that's kind of the whole point, is just to kind of introduce the basics of real estate, and then you guys can kind of tweak these systems as you go. So if you're just tuning in now, you can actually find all of our recordings on the Century 21 Percy Fulton YouTube channel. I have every single week. For the last couple of years, I actually did not share these topics with anybody outside of our brokerage or even have recordings anywhere. So that was mostly because we also have an online course that was being produced last year as well. So now that it is produced, now we're kind of sharing a lot of the topics that kind of go along with that online course that we have as well. So today we're going to be talking all about what to do when you get a buyer client. So we're going to be talking about everything from the moment that a buyer decides to work with you or decide to hire you all the way to closing. So we already did if we went back to the last couple sessions, I think it was week 2, we already did the consultation. So we already did the marketing, had a client sit down with us. We did a buyer consultation, asked them everything that they're looking to do or what they want in a home, what their budget is and all of that stuff. So now we're going through the process of what to do when that client actually says, okay, I'm ready to hire you. And this is going to be a different session because I also wanted to include a few different things. So I wanted to talk about compliance, which is not the most exciting stuff, but I do have Carly here as well to kind of help me through some of the paperwork. But I also want to give you guys some sales skills, negotiation prep, and just kind of give you ideas of what to do when you're client facing with the buyer, what happens behind the scenes on the administrative side, and then all the compliance stuff to kind of make sure that you guys are doing the proper things. And by the end of it, you guys should have a playbook, basically, what to do when you get a buyer client. So today's journey, we're going to be talking about what happens when that client says yes, all the way to closing day. Again, some skills training. We're going to talk a little bit about TRESA, RICO, OREA, and all the forms that are required. There is a lot of new forms. So if you are brand new or you haven't written an offer, I think the forms changed about 4 times already this year. So if you're not staying on top of the forms, we're going to be talking about what we do as a brokerage to make sure that you guys are using the right forms. But if you aren't, this is a good time to make sure that you guys are using the right forms if you are writing your own offers. And I'm going to give you guys a couple of systems and checklists as well to kind of stay organized. So every step of the process. So during this presentation, I'm going to talk about every step. So we want to ensure you guys see the big picture of everything that's actually happening. So a lot of agents just think, okay, you get a new buyer, set up some showings, do an offer, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of things that actually come together in the back end with deal administrators, lawyers, mortgage brokers, all of that stuff. And there's a lot of people involved in this process. It's a little bit more tricky than you think, but obviously it's doable because we do it all the time. But if we start to talk about the step-by-step process, it's going to ensure that you guys have smooth transactions, reduce your liability when a RICO complaint may come about, and it's going to actually help you protect your clients as well. So the way that I like to get you guys to start thinking when you guys are doing sales is more of a systematic thinking. So I know we're all very right-brained, creative people for the most part as realtors. So I want us to start thinking step-by-step processes. Okay, get a client, what's next, step by step. And you guys should be able to repeat this process over and over, because if you are working with, say, 5 different buyers at the same time, it can get kind of confusing and all of that stuff. So if you guys do have a repeatable process, it's going to allow you to work with way more clients. And I've talked about in my other systems courses, if you do ever have the goal that you want to step out of sales one day, maybe you don't want to work with buyers and go feet on the street every weekend, nights, evenings, you may get over that process if you start to build your business in a correct way. Then you might want to start thinking about hiring a buyer's agent or hiring help. And the only way you can ever grow your business is if you have systems so that you can hire a new agent and be like, here's your step-by-step process. This is everything that I do and how I work with my clients. And then you can work with 10 different buyers because now you're having help. So that's kind of like the future way of thinking. But if you can start to think about it that way, even when you're thinking about hiring an admin to help you out with your processes, an admin can't just come in and just start working. You have to tell that admin what to do. So if you are feeling chaotic, the only way your administrative assistant is going to help you is if you are giving them the step-by-step process and understanding those different roles that admin could help take off your plate, but you're not going to be able to get to that phase unless you actually have a systematic way of running your business. So under the TRESA rules, like I said, we're going to do some compliance today, which is not usually what we do in a lot of the training, but I want to make sure that we are showing that there is some things that we need to be doing. But under TRESA used to be REBA. So if you are a new student, you learned about REBA in school. The role of the agent is very clear now. All they care about, you have to be transparent, you have to disclose everything, and informed consent are very key in this process. And as a broker, our goal is to ensure that you feel confident writing your offers, managing those buyer deals from start to finish. So when they decide to hire you, your mindset kind of shifts. So during like the marketing and the consulting and all of that stuff, you kind of put your sales hat on why they should hire you, right? So you're selling them on why you're the best agent for them to hire. They've got 70,000 agents to compete from. So we're going to switch the mindset. Now they have decided to hire you as their buyer's agent. And you're going to go from selling more to guiding them through that process, from getting that pre-approval, and you're going to guide them through the showings and guide them through an offer all the way to closing. So your hat does kind of change a little bit once they do decide to hire you, because they've already hired you. The selling can kind of calm down a little bit until like the negotiations, of course. So your job when you're working with these buyers is to manage their emotions, because this is a very emotional process. And I have seen agents get very emotional through the process, which we need to throw aside, because it can, if you get your emotions involved, then it gets a little bit more stressful. So we have to not only manage our emotions, but we have to manage our buyers' emotions. We also have to manage their expectations. So we have to let them know what type of market we're getting into, what things they can expect when they're buying a certain home, and how we can execute that as well. So we're the ones that actually have to execute these people from the showings all the way to buying a home. So it's very important that you guys understand these step-by-step processes and understand that it's not just open a lockbox, show a home, put an offer. There's so much that happens behind the scenes, and we need to understand it so that we can predict what's going to happen and give our buyers those expectations so that their stress level stays lower. Because ultimately the goal is to keep them confident, keep them happy so that the whole experience goes well, and then they're going to refer you to all their other friends and family. So if we give them a very stressful experience and it's not organized and it feels chaotic, they're not going to hire you. They may keep staying with you for the entire process, but they're not going to go brag about you to their friends and family. And that's kind of the whole point when you have a live client, is to try to use that, take that advantage there and try to get a referral from these people. So once they decide to hire you, then the onboarding is going to begin. So we're going to start with a buyer, step one, which is the buyer onboarding process. So with TRESA, RICO, and OREA compliance, basically, it's going to protect you as an agent and your client. So this is, you have to pretend when you're working with buyers that you're going to RICO. Like RICO, you're going to RICO jail, you're going to get a complaint. You have to pretend in every situation that RICO is going to come at some point. So it's very important when you guys are working with clients, both buyers and sellers, that there's written representation agreement, so a buyer rep agreement, before you even provide advice or services, including that RICO info guide, which was introduced. We have to provide this service or these guides and this representation before you even book a showing, before you give them advice, before you even service these clients. That is a RICO TRESA rule. Whatever you guys are doing on the streets, up to you. But as your broker, these are the laws. So if you decide that you're going to take a client out showing homes without a buyer rep agreement, they go choose another realtor, you're kind of just screwing yourself over, because you're not protecting yourself either. If you do that as well, and maybe you didn't describe the buyer rep agreement or the RICO, that could be used against you as well in the future if they do decide to go with another realtor during your representation time. They can still come after you and say, you didn't explain it properly to me, and you may not get compensated if there is a RICO case. So you do have to do this stuff, and you have to understand how important it is. Claire goes to RICO court all the time for little tiny little things like this, and agents get really upset with themselves when they don't follow what we're supposed to be doing. Also, as an agent, you are responsible to be honest, fair, and competent. So you do need to know what is happening. We need to be honest. We don't want to be on the news one day showing that we are some sketchy agent. And then anytime a multiple representation, anything that you find out about homes, it's your duty to be expressing these to your clients. So you have a very important role when you're working with them. This is, it shows up on yours. This is every agent in our brokerage's very favorite form, the one that you guys all love to avoid. Sanik's nodding his head right now. Carly's gonna not be thrilled. This form I wanted to show at the very, very beginning because there is a reason why we have this form. And for some reason, it's like pulling teeth to get agents to just go through this form. There is a reason, and I'm mentioning it because this is what we use in the back end system. When you guys are doing, sorry, I know there's agents on here that aren't part of our brokerage, so this is a form that we use. This is after the deal is done. This is basically the transaction report summarizes everything that happened during that transaction. The girls in the back here, they don't know what happened. They're not tracking your conditions. They don't know if the deal fell through unless someone tells them. They don't know if you guys had a specific commission deal and maybe at the table you guys decided to reduce the commission to make the deal come together. So this is a very, very important form that summarizes it to make the transaction complete. But more importantly, if you guys are not handing in paperwork, there's no reason for it because at the very bottom of the form here, you're going to see every single form that you need to hand in. We don't do this for fun, guys. We have a RICO audit that is coming. This is very important. FinTrack audit. We, as a brokerage, have displayed it very openly on what we require from you. If you do not hand in this paperwork, it's not going to just be on the brokerage's back. It's coming back to you. If there's a charge, Claire's not going to jail alone. So we have this form for a reason. So if you're not handing it in, you're not only making our job a lot harder, but it's gonna catch you down the line. So if you don't know what paperwork to hand in, it's very simple. So RICO info guide, again, it's a 13-page guide that's going to confirm the relationship type and the representation. I know this is a pain in the butt paper. We didn't make the rules, but it is a new requirement by RICO. And if you do get in trouble and you didn't do it, you're going to have to explain why you did not, why you thought that your clients did not need to sign this. Buyer rep agreement. This establishes your agency and your representation rights. It also states what commission you're getting paid. So it does kind of protect you in the future if maybe for some reason you agree to 2.5%, a listing is offering 2%. Technically, you could come for your buyers for that extra 5%. So these things are protecting not only your clients, but also you as well. And you're going to be going through that with your clients. Privacy agreement, we need to state that all of your information is going to be held private. You're obviously going to have an offer to purchase. So when that buyer is ready to draft an offer, Schedule A, which is including the clauses and conditions of your offer. Schedule B, you typically receive from the listing brokerage. It talks about the trust-bearing accounts. Sometimes they add some of their own clauses in there to ensure that it's on there, but typically you'll find that attached to a listing. Confirmation of cooperation shows how much commission you're getting paid. This is also very important. Amendments, these are important for the girls. So if you are making changes, you will probably do an amendment, whether it's the price, the closing date, whatever it is, you're doing changes on your amendments, and those are getting sent over. If you have conditions on your transaction, you'll be doing something as a waiver or notice fulfillment. So we're going to show you guys which one you should be using. And this is where you guys firm up the transaction. If you're the one buying the property or you're related to the buyer, there's disclosure forms and all of that. So these documents, I'm just going to summarize quickly. I know it's the boring stuff, but I want to stress documentation is very important for you guys as well as the brokerage. So hopefully that states and why it's important and why we include this form for you guys. It's for us and for you guys. All right, so let's just talk about the buyer onboarding. So they hired you. Now we want to set up the systems and the structure. So keep in mind, this is after you did the consultation. So if you missed that session, guys, go back to week 2 and I talk you guys all through what to do through a buyer consultation where you gathered the information on what they were looking for. But once they decided to hire you, now you're going to create a buyer folder and add them to your CRM. So on your computer, this could be digital or physical. Sanic, for example, or even myself, you will set up a folder with your clients' names. Sanic will typically do it on Google Drive, and he'll share it with his clients so they're all in on it together. I myself set mine up privately on my computer, but I have a folder for every client with all the documentation. Or if you're a little bit more old school, which still works, you might have like a little manila folder, put the client's name, address, file all your physical paperwork in there as well. So either way, you should have a folder for every single buyer that signs on with you. In this folder, you want to have the buyer rep agreement, their ID, FinTrack, and the RICO info guide. So this is before you even start showing houses. These are the documents that you need to have before you even get out there. Then I would recommend maybe sending like a welcome email or text. So if they do sign on with you, like even when you guys join as a brokerage, as an agent, we always send you a welcome email with a little bit of information on, okay, here's what hours we are, here's how you can get a hold of me, here's who you go to for what. You're going to do the same thing with your clients, whether you say, okay, I'm going to be emailing you every single day properties. They're going to come into your mailbox around 4 a.m. If we see anything, feel free to text me if you want to see any properties. We will get on the phone call when it comes to any negotiations. So talk about what the communication is going to look like. Showing procedures. So you can say, hey, if you see a property that you like on realtor.ca or any of my emails, send them over to me. Okay. So just email them over to me and then we will coordinate. So we have to tell them exactly what to do now that they're your buyer client. If they see any off-market properties, maybe they're talking to their neighbor and their neighbor says, hey, I'm thinking about selling my home. Tell them anytime you guys see a property that's off market, send it over to me and I will represent you still. So a lot of people don't understand that when they're in a buyer rep agreement, even if they find something off market, you are still being compensated for that. So they might as well use you throughout that process. So basically you're just saying, here's the plan. I'm going to guide you through every step. I think this kind of onboards them properly so that at least they know what's happening. A lot of agents do not do this, so it's already going to set you apart. Okay, now before the showing, so pre-showing prep. So this is how you're going to get the buyers ready. So what you're going to do is you're going to confirm the mortgage pre-approval. So we already talked about this in the consultation. We asked them if they've been pre-approved. If they haven't, hopefully they are now. But what you do want a pre-approval. You don't want to take buyers out that don't have approvals and they're just making up their budget. Worst thing that would happen is you take them to all these places, they find a property, and then you're like, great, there's 2 offers on the property. You don't even have a mortgage approval. You just lost out right there. So you're setting them up for success and yourself to not waste time by having that approval. Then you can go back to them and say, hey, there's no point in seeing this property. You can't afford it, stuff like that. But you also, during that process, they may be approved at a certain amount. So you also want to confirm what's your budget. So even though you're approved at $1 million, what's your comfort zone? What do you guys want to spend? Typically, they will spend what their approval was. They always have magic money, so you guys can let them know. Yes, you may get out there and say, okay, 800 is our budget, but you've been eyeing $1 million property. So you may want to explain to them. This happens to probably all buyers. I'm sure all of us have seen it where they give you their budget, they lose out on a few homes, then all of a sudden they have $200,000 more, right? We've all seen that. So let them know, hey, yes, we'll stick to your budget, but just know that there is a high chance that you're going to see properties that you don't like and you will end up going there. So if you already know you're going to spend $1 million, better to do it earlier than later because then the prices sometimes typically go up a little bit and they may have missed out on some opportunities there. So once you've got the pre-approval, you've got their budget, you already disclosed what they wanted in that consultation. Now we're going to set them up on Realm if you're with Toronto. Realm MLS search to get them auto property sent to them every single day. So this is honestly, I've just realized some agents actually didn't know this. So I know some of you guys that are sitting here being like, duh, this is obvious. See, I have a brand new agent right here. She has no idea that you can go onto Realm, you can create a save search and have your client's email address with their criteria. And then every single day, they're going to get an email from you so that you're not on MLS every single day. I had a poor agent who's been in the business for 5 years in another brokerage before me. When she came to one of my sessions last year, this exact one, she did not know that you could auto search properties. So her clients were probably missing out on quite a few opportunities just because she didn't know the technology. So I know this is very obvious to some agents, but there's going to be someone else on here that did not know that you can auto search. So you can, and then throughout the day, you'll do your manual searches. So hopefully that helps a little bit. And then of course, in the showing prep, you want to discuss timing and competitiveness of the market. So if your clients are about to hit into a competitive property, maybe they're in a first-time home buyer range, you may have to tell them, okay, guys, if you see a property, this market is hot right now in your area, in your price point. If you see something, we need to go see it that day, or the next day. We need to see it quick and jump on it. We can't wait for the weekends kind of thing. So you need to explain to them, because worst thing that would happen is if someone fell in love with a property, they said, okay, great, let's see it. It's Tuesday. Let's go see it this weekend. And then it sells on Wednesday because it was the right one. You're going to get in trouble and your clients are going to be really pissed off at you. And I see Alex, we've all done it, right? You've all had a property, you're like, yep, no problem. Let's just wait for a couple more to pop up. We'll go take a look and see a few at a time. Then one of them sells. The buyers feel like they missed out. So you do have to discuss if they have time to wait to go book a showing or if it's something that they need to see immediately. So you need to discuss these expectations up front on what they're getting themselves into. And speaking of that, this is kind of like the sales skills part of it all. Buyers have 4 great fears. One of them is losing a home. 2 is missing out on something. 3 is paying too much. And something is wrong with the house that they buy. These are very common fears that buyers have. Number 2, the 2 top ones are missing out on something or paying too much money. So once we understand that these are the fears of the clients, then we need to know that we need to work on these. So missing out on too much, we need to let them know that we are showing them properties. So again, if you don't have those auto searches and then they find out that they missed out on a property, they're going to be really upset with you. So upfront, we have to let them know we're going to send you MLS searches. I'm going to be checking the pre-construction market. We're going to be checking FSBO market, foreclosures, all of that. They may say to you, oh no, like I don't want pre-construction. I actually don't want to do foreclosures. And then you can take those off the list. But letting the buyers know upfront that you are going to be looking at every single property for them is going to reduce that fear that they're going to miss out on something. Paying too much, big fear. The way to get away from that is to come with comparables and recent data. So when you're at a property with them and they say, hey, I really want to buy this house, and you can be like, and they'll say, what should we offer? They always say that in the home typically. So then you can pull up your stats and say, well, this is what your neighbors all sold for. So they want to make sure that they're never paying too much. And that is a huge fear for probably everybody. So we want to remove those fears before they start even looking at homes and let them know that these are their fears, and our goal is to make sure. So we need to acknowledge that we know that they're fearful of these things so that when the time does come, they have that green light when to buy. So if they have a fear of any of these things on any house you show them, they're not going to buy it. So when they start hearing voices that are kind of conflicting, so if they're like, oh, I don't want to pay too much, or it's like something's wrong with it. Any like one of these little triggers in their brain is going to put a red light on them purchasing. So those confused buyers do not buy. So we have to make sure that we're letting them know, like, you're not missing out on any homes. You've seen them all. We're not paying too much because here's what the market's saying. There's something wrong with it. Let's get a home inspection and ensure there isn't something wrong so we can move forward with it. We're not going to lose the home because if you tell me you want to buy it, we're going to put an offer on it. So we got to make sure that we're really taking care of those fears, because if they have any of these, they're not going to make a purchase. Okay, so the showing experience. So again, these could be like things that we already know. But as an agent, our job is to schedule and confirm appointments. If you're in Toronto, usually that's through Broker Bay online. If you're maybe old school, there are some places that still make you call the listing brokerage. They may use a different technology, but take a look at how to book the showings and confirm them. As you guys are going through the properties, I learned this also from Sanic, we should be logging every single property that we take our buyers through. So when you guys created that buyer file at the very beginning, now we're going to be creating a file for them with an Excel sheet of every property you showed them, what it sold for, the price, and then of course get their feedback on it as well. Because after you show them quite a few houses, I think Sanic said he's been showing a client like 30 houses. That's a lot. So they may like get mad at you and be like, oh, we missed out on this house. And be like, no, we saw that house and you said these things about it. Or they'll say, oh, my agent didn't do enough. If RICO comes to case, you can say, no, actually, I showed these guys 60 houses and here's how I documented it. So you are protecting yourself as well by documenting what houses you guys did see and the feedback that you received. When you are in the house with them, you can ask them this question. And this is going to kind of help you guide on getting them closer to what they're looking for. So especially in the beginning, they're not quite sure what they want to buy because things are just overwhelming. So you can just say, what did you love about the house? What did you like about the house? And what did you want to change? That will give you guys a big, clear idea of maybe like, oh, the kitchen was too small. Okay, well, after that, we're not going to look at small kitchens. We're only going to look at open kitchens. Maybe they hated The fact that it was on a main road, great. So anytime you send me a listing that's on a main road, we cut that out. So by asking this question, it kind of eliminates what types of products we're going to send them, especially in that beginning phase of the showings. Keep the momentum. So I think I would recommend having at least 2 to 3 showing days per week. So have availability for your clients, where especially evenings, right? Most of your clients are available in the evenings for showings. Have 2 to 3 days per week, including a weekend day that you're going to be made available for these clients so that you guys can go out anytime that they're looking. So we can't be too busy for them. We have to make availability evenings and weekends for these guys. And I would recommend not showing more than 5 houses per session. I keep bringing Sanic up. Sanic, you did like 15 condos, I think, once. 15, that's a lot. I was reading my Ninja Selling book, which I keep talking about. They say that humans cannot handle more than 5 things in their brain, like at a time. So we just can't. Our brains don't comprehend more than 5 items that are happening. So if you're showing them more than 5 houses, they're going to forget. They're going to be like, I don't remember that house I saw in the beginning. I forget. So this is more for your buyer's sake and your sake. It's a lot to even drive to 5 houses, to be honest. Maybe 5 condos in the same building, sure. But try to keep it to 5 at a minimum. If they send you 10, if they're coming from out of town, obviously you might have to do that. But if they're not, maybe set aside, like, okay, we'll do 5 today, 5 tomorrow, whatever. But try to keep it to 5 so that you guys can keep it, because they're going to get overwhelmed. And you always tell them that. I've had clients where I said, listen, we're going to keep it to 5 houses, even 3 houses. And they'll say, no, I want to see all of them. And you'll say, okay, but you're going to be really overwhelmed. We'll give it a shot. Every time you do it, they're always overwhelmed and they will say, yes, you did tell me. So let them know that you're not trying to like not show them all the houses. You just want to make sure that they're seeing the right ones. So we got to do a process of elimination. But when you do the process of elimination, it brings up that fear that they're missing out. So they still want to see that house, even though they know that they're not going to like it, but they have a fear still that they're going to miss out on something. So sometimes you do have to show them all of the properties that they want, just so they can clear it off the list that they saw it and they didn't want it. All right. This is another interesting thing I saw as a little tactic. When you guys are listening to buyers, we always say buyers are liars, sellers are worse. A lot of the time, the buyers have an idea of what they're looking for in a home. And what we do as agents, which is kind of a mistake, is we take those little features that they tell us in the consultation, and then we just plug and play. We put it into MLS, and then we set it and forget it kind of thing. What a lot of the buyers don't understand, we need to stop thinking about what they want in a house and start concentrating on why do they want that. So I was reading this in that book the other day, and they basically did a mock interview and saying that buyers don't buy what they want, they buy their whys. So let's just say a client says, I want to be on a golf course. I want it to be 4 bedrooms. I want a 3-car garage, a large kitchen, and a large lot. Those are great things to write down. After they tell you that what they want in a house, go through every feature and say why. So why do you want to live on a golf course? I learned that 80% of people that live on a golf course do not golf. So why do we want to live on a golf course? Well, why do they want to live on it? They want views and open space. Okay, perfect. So maybe we don't need to just focus on golf courses. We just need to find a house that has a wide open space. So they may be open to it. They just don't know it yet. They may say, oh, I need 4 bedrooms. Why do you need 4 bedrooms? Well, we need 2 master suites and we need 2 offices. Okay, so maybe we don't need 4 bedrooms. Maybe we could do 3 bedrooms and have an office on the main level. Or maybe the basement can turn into office spaces. So that opens up the criteria right there to say, okay, we don't need to be closed-minded and only look at 4 bedrooms. We just need to make sure that there's 2 bedrooms and 2 office spaces. So that will open it up. Why do you need a 3-car garage? Well, in the future, I plan on having blah, 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 blah. I plan on having 3 cars. Okay, well, will an oversized 2-car garage fit? Yes, great. So you're not limiting to 3-car garage on there, and now they're going to miss out on opportunities that could have worked for them if there was an oversized 2-car garage. So if you're just putting 3, they might, again, be missing out on something, which is a big fear of theirs, and they're going to be upset with you that you didn't send them that option. Why do you want a large kitchen? Oh, I like to entertain people. Okay, well, maybe it's not a large kitchen, but it's a large entertainment space. So that will also open up. Large lot. Why do you want a large lot? I want privacy. Well, maybe there's a smaller lot out there that has a ravine and is very private. So we need to dig into why they want certain features That's going to help you out with the process of what you're doing to buy for them. Then when we go to show properties, there is an art and science to it. So when you guys are going to showings, I recommend having a bunch of this stuff in play. So we should always have a map. Either we need to map out where we're doing it. So don't just book a bunch of showings, put it onto Google Maps, organize it. I think someone asked us in the chat, is there was an app out there that would select the drive. I think we discovered that Google does that. If you guys use Google Maps, it will actually organize what the best route is for your showings. So you do need to have like a route that makes sense. So you can either ask your clients, do you want to start the furthest from your home, or do you want to like end the closest to your home? Like decide, would you rather your drive there be longer or your drive home be shorter? Ask them what they would prefer. Maybe they're coming from a different direction. So be very open about where everyone's coming from as well. You should also print or email yourself active and sold properties. The clients are going to ask you, what did that neighbor sell for? If you see a sold rider or a sold sign in the yard across the street, they're going to say, what did that sell for? You need to know. I remember I did not do this, and I pulled up House Sigma. And this is when I started getting into the House Sigma apps, where you look up the sold data. Now Realm is on your phone, so it's a lot easier to use, but it makes you look a little unprofessional. So show up with the sold properties, active properties. Again, they're going to drive through the area and you need to let them know. I keep bringing up the fear of missing out. They're going to drive by a house. They're going to see a for sale sign in the neighbors and be like, why didn't you send me this one? And you'll have to explain to them, like, you might drive by some homes that we're not going to see, probably because they're out of your budget. So let them know we're not missing out on anything, but you do need to have info on it. Be like, yes, it's listed too high, and that's why we didn't show it. So you need to have a reason. Plan your road ahead. Always park across the street when you guys show up. Don't park in the driveway. Give room for your clients to go into the driveway, and you guys just park across the street. Go into the home first if it's the first property of your route. Go in, turn the lights on, get everything fresh. Then step outside of the home, walk with them. So greet them at the driveway. I've been known to just stay in the house and say, come on in. I still find that feels a little invasive for the buyers. So if you step out of the house when they pull up, then you can have some time to build some rapport with them. How was your day? How was your drive? And then walk them in the house. You'll put them in the house before you, but you'll go into the home. After that, if you're doing a bunch of showings, you don't have that chance to go into the house before them. But for that very first one, show up a little bit early. If you're showing strangers, you met an online lead, complete stranger, you don't know them, always make sure that you are always behind them. So never walk into a room before a complete stranger. I know it sounds scary, but you never want to get locked into a basement or a bathroom. And I know that sounds crazy, but we've seen it happen in the past. So if you are showing strangers, just make sure they're going into the rooms before you. Always have an exit plan and all of that stuff. So that, yeah, you don't want to get locked anywhere. You want to make sure that you're watching what they're up to. Don't walk in front of them because then who knows, right? That's part of your safety. When it comes to their body language, you're going to know. So a lot of agents think that you have to sell the house to them. The buyers are going to tell you, and you're going to see their body language. You're going to see their excitement. If they start planning out where they're putting like a kitchen table, the couches, the beds, if they start planning the decor, this is a huge sign that they like the house. So we really need to pay attention. So you're never going to be able to convince a buyer to buy a home, but you will see signs from them that they like it. And what they're looking from you is that green light. They want you to confirm that this is a good house for them to buy. So once you start, we call it the dance. Once you start to see them doing the dance, they get excited, they're planning things. That's when you know that, okay, we need to pay a little bit of attention. If you want them, I think it's important for them to go back and see the house again. So if they did do the dance, they were planning furniture, typically you're going to have to go book a second showing. Usually, I will say, mom and dad or the parents or somebody comes with them that second showing, but you will probably have to see it again if you can. In the hot market, we didn't have that opportunity. But even if you're in the house on itself, you could say, would you like to do another tour? Like, why don't you go do another wraparound, go take a look again? Why don't we go stand? What was the best part of the house? If they say, oh, the kitchen's our favorite part, go stand in the kitchen and talk a little bit. But make sure you guys are catching on to those cues. If they walk in and they're silent, they don't like it. Don't say, do you like it? You'll know. They will start getting excited about it. And that's when you know that this is a property that they're considering. There is some soft closing questions. So you're never going to be able to persuade a buyer to buy the home. And again, usually they're just looking for your permission. So a lot of buyers, even though they like a home, they are kind of leaning to you to be like, is this a good deal kind of thing? And if you think like this is everything that they were looking for in a home, just say, I think this is a good home for you. I think this would be a good deal. I think like they like hearing this is a good deal because they feel like they're not overpaying. They want you to give them that green light that you agree that this is a great house for them. So a confused buyer is not going to buy, and they don't want to pay too much, and they don't want to feel like they're missing out on a different home. So you have to kind of make them feel confident in this decision. And by able to, if in order to feel that, you can ask them a few questions like, can you see yourself living in this home? Is this a home you would like to own? When would you like to move in? And shall we see if you can buy this home? Shall we make sure that you don't lose this home? I ask this question quite often. If this home sells tonight, will you be okay with it? That is always a leading question. They'll be like, no. And that is a key indicator that you should buy it. This question also comes into play when it comes to pricing the property. You'll say, okay, you want to offer 550. If another buyer offers 580, will you be upset? And they always like wonder why I ask them that question, because if they're going to be upset, I always say, great, you have to offer that price. If it sells for 600, will you be upset? No. Okay, 580 is our price. So we always kind of have to like put them into the future that if this house gets lost or you lost out on a home, which was one of the other fears the buyers have, you put them into that fear mode that if another buyer gets this home, are you going to be sad about it? If they say yes, that is a very key indicator that you're going to be writing an offer on that property. So these are key questions that you can ask them that don't make you feel salesy. You're not going to be like, let's put an offer on it. You need to ask them to guide them that if this is a home that they like. So once they decide that they want to put an offer on a property, then you're going to go through the offer process. So it's going to look like creating an offer, going over the offer with the client, doing negotiations with the other agent. There might be conditions and waivers. There's a deposit involved with lawyers, and there's a closing coordination. So we're going to go over these next steps as well. So when you guys are in the offer stage, so when your clients, you're sitting in the home, they say, yep, we want to buy this home. You're going to go home and you're going to get ready to draft an offer. Or if you're with us, you're going to email the front desk girls, and we'll talk about that as well. So what you're going to need is you're going to draft an offer, an agreement of purchase and sale. You need the Schedule A, which has the clauses and conditions. Confirmation of cooperation, again, how you get paid. Confirm the deposit. So we talked about this in the consultation. Every agent will learn this mistake one time, but ask your clients, do you have the deposit now? Don't just write deposit will be delivered in 24 hours. You need to ask, do you have $20,000 ready to go tomorrow? Hopefully you talked about this in the consultation and had them meditate getting out that money if it was an investment. If they do not, don't put 24 hours. Be honest with the agent and say they're not going to have the deposit today, but they will have it by Wednesday, November, whatever. So just put the date there, because then otherwise you're going to do more amendments. The listing agent gets upset. So I think the more communicative you can be about the deposit, if it's not coming in 24 hours, the better. Otherwise they start to panic if it's next day, deposit's not there. And then you're like, oh yeah, we don't have it. So it's very important that you can say, okay, listing agent, $20,000 deposit we have, it's tied up in investments. It will be there on Tuesday kind of thing. So as long as you're open about that, they have it and it's coming, it's going to save you a lot of pain the next day. Disclosures, and then multiple rep if there is one. So this is what you're going to do to prepare for the negotiations. There's only a few different things that you're really going to be discussing with your clients before they're in negotiations. Obviously, first thing is the price. What price would you like to offer? What terms? So if there's any certain terms that you want to include in there. Dates, this is very important. What closing date? And you might actually have to call the listing agent to say, hey, is there a specific closing date that you want? But it has to work for everybody. But sometimes the sellers do have a specific closing date, and you can include that in there. Inclusions and exclusions, very important as well. Are the appliances included? Is the family chandelier included? Is the freezer excluded? This is important to go through the photos as well with your clients and take a look at all of the different appliances and all that stuff that is in the pictures and see if it was mentioned on the contract. You guys would be shocked the amount of fights that are done at the closing table when it comes to like a TV bracket. Like, is that included or excluded? I had a fight with an agent one year on a mailbox. The mailbox was not built into the ground. It was placed on the ground. It was just a very heavy mailbox that the sellers took with them, and the buyers were very upset about it. But that was not included in the sale of the home. So if there's specific things your clients want in the home or don't want in the home, you have to be very specific about it. Or you might be buying a fridge or a stove or something for the client. So be very particular on this as well. And then the conditions. So ensure before you guys are doing the offers, if you're with our office and you're watching today, you guys, all you have to do is gather those items from the client, and then you're just going to email fulton.frontdesk@century21.ca. Let the girls know, or we have a boy now too. Let them know price, deposit, irrevocable, even closing dates, conditions, all that stuff. They will draft up your entire offer for you and have it emailed it over to you. The reason I prefer our admin to be writing your offers is because we are up to date on what forms we are using. Like I said, the forms have changed 3 or 4 times just this year. And if you didn't know that, that is scary. So we want you guys to be having the girls write your offers because they're using the most up-to-date forms. So we want to make sure that you guys are also using those forms as well. And it just ensures compliance. But of course, it's also going to save you guys time. And it does look very professional when you are with your clients and you're like, okay, great, I'm going to have my admin draft up the offer. It does have a little bit of a nice feel to it when your clients feel like you have a whole team behind your back as well. If you're a brand new agent, it might take you 2 hours to write an offer. If you're in a hot market, this comes in handy as well. The girls are there. So I remember standing in the condo one time downtown and my client wanted to put an offer in. There was already an offer on the property. Called the girls, they drafted an offer. I'm in Starbucks right there on the spot, and I get an offer over within an hour. So it does save you a lot of time from ending the showing, driving all the way home, whipping up your computer, getting an offer drafted. So it's going to help you guys out a lot. Once you guys got the offer done, of course, we have to ensure that it's complete, verify that they're all signed and documented. It is important as an agent to stay calm and confident and professional during these. Document absolutely everything. So I know we like to be on the phone for negotiations, but if there is some sort of tricky spot in your offers, there's a lot of verbal negotiations that happen in real estate. Those don't count. If Rico goes to court and you said, yeah, we talked on the phone about the mailbox being included, or I don't know, something being included. Rico doesn't have history of that. So I like to have everything in writing, emails, text, all of that stuff. If you don't want something in writing, like a number, a price, usually when you're negotiating price with another agent, typically that is a phone call because you don't want that in writing sometimes. But anything that you feel like needs to be documented, especially if it's going to be a little bit of a fight down the road, having it in a text or an email is really going to help you out, especially if your clients come back at you. If you saw something, maybe you told your clients, hey, that roof isn't looking too good, and you recommended that maybe they don't move forward with a deal because of certain things. Having those in writing is really going to help you down the road as well. So make sure that everything that is in verbal negotiation is also put into writing as well. We see that all the time. I even had a buyer call us this weekend saying, I'm going to offer you this amount. I'm like, great, like put it on paper. Everything in our business needs to be put on paper. Don't call an agent and say, will you take 800,000? To me, that's a fake offer and I'm not going to tell you anything. And of course, it's always on the phone when they talk to you about this. Get it on paper. Otherwise, an offer is not an offer unless it's in paper. So don't be calling the agents with your verbal offers. Put it on paper and present it to them because you're just wasting everyone's time that way. Okay, so you did your offer. Let's just say it is now accepted. Now there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that is going to be happening. So we must follow a lot of different rules during this process. So typically, like I said, a deposit needs to be delivered within 24 hours unless you stated otherwise on your agreement. Usually it's by certified check, bank draft, bank draft, wire transfer, or even direct deposit. So these are the most forms. Usually the listing agent, if you're brand new, the listing agent will send you the instructions on what the deposit will be like. If your client banks with the same bank that the brokerage does, they can just do an easy go to the bank and do a direct deposit. if your clients bank at a different bank, say they bank with TD and the brokerage banks with BMO, they can grab a direct or a bank draft from TD and bring it to any BMO, and then that can go into the account. Or they can take a bank draft and bring it to the brokerage itself. I find that just going to any bank is probably easier because they're all over the place. Or we can do a wire transfer if they want to take it from TD and electronically transfer it to a BMO. The only problem is, like what we saw this week, it can take a few days for that to come through. So if you are doing wire, just know that it's going to take a few days, and it does cost a little bit extra as well. Once your client has done the deposit, what they're going to do, back in the day, also, you could do this where, like, I used to meet my clients at the bank to go collect the bank draft, and I would deliver it to the listing brokerage. I don't know if that, do you guys still do that? Not as much anymore. When COVID came around, then your clients, you didn't want to see your clients. So your clients would go to the bank and then they would deposit themselves. And I feel like that just kind of shifted over. But back in the day, we used to grab the bank draft and bring it to the brokerage directly. And it was a service that an agent would offer. I don't see it as often anymore. So then once your clients deliver it, this is the problem with that part. You have to tell your clients, take a photo of that deposit receipt for me and send it over to me so that you, as the agent, can now send it to the listing agent. So no one knows that a bank draft got delivered. So if you're working with a buyer, there's still a lot of extra steps. So you behind the scenes have to take that photo, send it to the listing brokerage, either the agent or their deal admin. They'll show you on the instructions. Then you're going to get a receipt from the listing brokerage saying, yes, the deposit is in our account. You're going to have a copy and your buyers are going to have a copy as well. So this is important for everybody. So the communication is very important. Then you're going to submit your accepted deal within 24 hours to the deal admin. So if you're with our brokerage watching this and in person, you're going to take your accepted deal and email it to c21pf.deal@century21.ca. Whether it's conditional or not, you're going to send it over. And then you're going to do a receipt of funds. This is all agents' least favorite paperwork. I'm already seeing one in the back there. Everyone hates this one. Unfortunately, guys, you have to do it. So this one, I think the receipt of funds even extended their forms now. Now you have to get their IDs. We actually have to get their account numbers, which we just learned a little bit ago. You have to ask your clients what bank account number, right? So if we want to follow FinTrack rules, you also need to get the client's bank account information, which I know I'm seeing some faces. Yes, we do. Shocking, which is very invasive. If your clients do not want to get it, then you have to say, asked for their bank number, they did not want to provide. So you can put that on as well, but you have to show that you tried to get their account number. Claire, you may know, like, why do they ask for that? Like, that seems invasive. So that's it. Okay, so it's just a money trial. So under RICO rules, FinTrack rules, deposit handling is an area with a high audit risk. So when they do an audit, if it does not have the account number, this will get flagged, even though they're a good person. So this is just something for you guys to follow. Listing brokerage has to place those funds in a trust account immediately upon receipt and then send the deposit receipt to you. And then from there, they usually give that trade a trade number. So it's all about tracking that transaction. So this is what's happening in the background. Each deal will get a trade number. Once that deposit is in, typically Heather will grab a deposit. She has a trust ledger. She writes in an actual number, and then we have a trade number for your report or for your deal. Then you may have conditions. So don't leave these to chance. These conditions are here to kind of protect your buyers. And it's a very critical part of the negotiation strategy as well. So typically what you guys might see is a finance condition for 5 days, a home inspection condition for 5 days, a review of the status certificate by a lawyer if you're dealing with a condo, or lately we've been seeing the sale of a buyer's property. So we are seeing those. We have to track this conditional period and explain the timelines to your clients up front. So we have to all be on the same page together when it comes to the timelines. So during this time, like I said, it could be 5 days. If you're competing with negotiations, sometimes you drop that 5 days to 3 days. We see it all the time. It doesn't have to be 5 days. It could be 2 weeks, whatever it is. We just see standard 5 days. But you are responsible to basically manage the conditions. So you have to manage the mortgage approval. Once you guys get an accepted deal, what we have to do as agents is we actually have to, you can send it to your clients, but as an agent, I think it's professional to get the mortgage broker's contact information. You're going to email them the agreement of purchase and sale and the MLS sheet. So after the deal is accepted right away, because they have 5 days to do it, email the mortgage broker with your clients attached, say, hey, we have an accepted offer, see the agreement of purchase and sale and the MLS. Please let me know if you need anything further. Then you've left it with the mortgage broker. They can start doing their job. If no one sends anything to the mortgage broker, you're going to get in trouble. If it's day 3, I think you've probably seen it too, Alex, where the agents are like, yep, we're in conditions, and they just sit there, and then they ask the mortgage broker how the conditions are going. Well, they didn't receive anything from you. So you have to send them something or give it to your clients to send to them so they have the 5 days. That is a very important step. If you miss that, you look stupid. So that's why I'm explaining it to you guys so that your clients aren't like, well, why didn't you send it? And then you look like you're unorganized. That's an important step. If you're doing a home inspection, most of the time your buyers do not know a home inspector. So you're going to give them 3 options of home inspectors. Say, here's 3 home inspectors you can choose from. And then you're going to coordinate with the listing agent, with the sellers, the inspector, and your clients and yourself. So you have to manage 4 timelines. So you have to do this immediately. So if you only have 5 days, don't wait till day 4 to be like, okay, guys, let's get that appointment booked. Get everyone wrapped up. We call TJ as soon as a deal is conditional. We say, okay, we have, what's your schedule like? We usually ask the inspector what their schedule is like. That we relay it back to the seller, ask if that works for them, and then we relay it to the buyer and say, does it work for you? It's a big coordination, and we got to get that all done within the 5 days. With the lawyer review, if you have a status certificate, typically the listing agent will provide you with this status certificate. They have 10 business days to give it to you. As soon as you get that agreement, they have 3 days. So as soon, like if you got to check in your email for that status certificate, don't send it to them the next business day because you're already behind. The conditions start the day after you receive that condition. They have 3 days to review. The day after you get it, it starts. So if you can get it to them that same day, it gives yourself a little bit of extra time. But you are responsible for sending the status certificate to the lawyers. The lawyers review it. They send a summary to your clients. They don't typically say red flags, green flags. They just send a summary and then they let your clients decide. Sometimes if it's a good lawyer and it is a bad condo, they will tell you. Otherwise, they just summarize the rules, the budget, all of that stuff. Sometimes they'll say, I don't see any problems. Your clients may ask you, and like you have to make them feel very confident in all 3 of these conditions so that they move forward. So hopefully you have a good inspector. But like I said, clients are going through some stress. So we have to basically inform them of deadlines, keep them posted, make sure that all the conditions are met before we remove them. And make sure this is a smooth process. So don't make it stressy, make it very calm and organized so that your clients don't know what's happening in the background. You may actually have to assist with appraisals and get access to a home. You have to be there at the inspection as well. So get prepared for a 3-hour appointment. If you can't attend it, you should be sending another agent, but your clients can't just go to an inspection by themselves. You have to attend it with them. And then, of course, document all of your communications as well. Does anyone have questions on conditions? Do you know? Perfect. Important part of this stuff, guys, never give legal or financial advice. So if they do have questions about their mortgage, they tend to come to you still because you're kind of the main guy the whole process. If they have questions about their mortgage, direct them to their mortgage broker. If they have questions on the status certificate, direct them to the lawyers. Don't be giving them any of this advice. Just stick to the professional that is for that transaction. Same thing with inspection. We don't know anything about roofs. So give them the inspector's number. They can get some clarification on things that they need. If we know basics, sure. But if not, try to keep it to the appropriate professional as well. Okay, let's just say everything went well. We want to get rid of the finance condition, the inspection, the status certificate. Everything was good to go. We want to firm up the transaction. This is when you have to send in a waiver or a notice of fulfillment. Both of these forms do the exact same thing. They both will get rid of they'll get rid of the clause and firm up the deal, but they kind of also are a little bit different. So if you're submitting a waiver, that means you're removing the condition totally. So it's just saying, yeah, actually, you know what? We don't actually need that finance condition. We don't need a home inspection. We're just removing it. Whereas a notice of fulfillment means we did the finance condition, we did a home inspection, and we are satisfied and we are fulfilled. So I prefer to see that form, a notice of fulfillment, than I see a waiver. Claire, do you prefer that as well? Okay, good. So you can do a waiver. Again, it will do the same thing, but if it comes down to RICO court, I would rather you say, yep, we did a home inspection, everything went well, rather than saying, we decided we didn't want the home inspection clause. So sad, too bad. So try to do a notice of fulfillment. Amendment, so if there is any changes, maybe you need to change the price, something came up on the inspection, you need to make an amendment to the agreement, make sure everything is in writing. So don't just go by the listing agent saying, yep, that home inspection, yep, we're gonna fix those windows, no problem. Or, yeah, that roof, yep, we're gonna replace it, no problem. Don't even worry about it, just send us the waiver or send us the notice of fulfillment. No, we want to have in writing that seller agrees to fix the roof before closing. So it needs to be in writing. Otherwise, that seller could just be to Rico. I didn't promise you guys a fixed roof. I didn't promise to fix the windows. Then you're screwed. And then you may end up buying your client some new windows. So make sure everything is in writing so you don't get screwed. If you did your offer with the front desk girls, they will actually have access to that transaction that they wrote the offer for with your client's names and everything. So just send them a quick email to Fulton Front Desk, say, hey, can you please send me a notice of fulfillment for home inspection and financing? The girls will quickly send you over all the documents that you need. So again, you've got a lot of administrative assistance over here. Okay, let's say we firmed up. You're still not done. This is like a very long transaction. So we still need to keep the buyers informed and supportive. What we want to do is we want to confirm the closing checklist. So we want to make sure they have a lawyer. So don't wait. Technically, the lawyers don't get involved until about 2 or 3 weeks before the transaction. Do not wait. If they have a lawyer, I would encourage even getting the lawyer up front. I will say this is the most stressful part of the deal admin role. When you hand in your paperwork, if you don't hand in the lawyers, what they're going to do is they're going to put the file aside. And they're getting like hundreds of other deals in the meantime. And we may forget to follow up and say, hey, we actually still need your lawyer. And then all of a sudden the lawyers are calling you guys on closing being like, hey guys, where's the paperwork? Oh, I forgot to give it to deal admin so that they could send stuff. So I would encourage you guys to get lawyers as soon as the transaction's firm, get a lawyer, hand it in right away. The girls can't be chasing you guys down for lawyers all the time. And it does ruin the process and it makes everything incomplete. So it is nice if you guys have a complete file for them. If they don't have a lawyer, give them some suggestions. Make sure they have insurance. Again, the lawyers will send them this stuff for insurance and utilities as a reminder, but even as an agent, we can also be a reminder. They cannot close without insurance. They have to get their utilities set up. Usually you guys get 2 walkthroughs before the closing. So it depends on what you guys put in the agreement, but typically you'll do 2 walkthroughs before closing. The first one, I will say a lot of the time the family comes. Does everyone have experience with that? Mom, dad, brother, sister, grandma, they all come. So just get ready for the whole fam jam. They're going to be doing measurements, planning out furniture. That's typically what you're going to see. Usually that second walkthrough, you like to do the week before closing. So this way, what you're going to do is you're going to be checking the appliances, checking water, checking lights, make sure everything is in the same condition as what you bought it in. If one of the appliances is broken, you now have some time to contact the seller and say, hey, the stove actually wasn't working properly, get it fixed. We just recently had one where the fridge actually stopped working that week. Let the sellers know. Sellers had to buy the buyers a whole new fridge. So if I had waited till after closing to let the sellers know the fridge wasn't working, me as an agent might be out of fridge because sometimes you guys may be stuck buying a lot of these things that are broken. I've seen mirrors get broken, light fixtures, things happen. So these are things that you can get fixed before closing. Otherwise, you're going to be the one fixing them. I think it's also a good idea to give your clients a moving prep list as well. And then deal admin is going to prepare a closing package for you. So even if you guys send the documents to the lawyers, which I see a lot of experienced agents do, that is not it. So us as the brokerage, the girls also have to send in other documents that you guys do not have access to, which is the commission statement. So just because you guys send it to the lawyers doesn't mean it's appropriate and everything's good to go. The girls still have to receive your documents so we can then send stuff to the lawyers to ensure that you get paid, which hopefully you guys all want to do. And thoughtful and closing gifts. So on closing day, you may want to think about things that you guys can do to make closing better. Usually we don't choose the closing gift until we see what happens in the transaction. Let's just say a mirror broke, Maybe they are doing handyman things. So you can kind of base your closing gift a little bit on what that client's going through. Or it could just be something as easy as like an Uber Eats gift card for moving day, flowers, whatever it is. But it's nice to have some sort of thoughtful closing gift or a closing note as well. And then, of course, you're going to put them in your CRM and you're going to write down the closing date, which will be their house anniversary. So you guys can follow up with them in the past or in the future, ask them for referrals, and then put them on your touch point system, which we talked about on the last session where we talked about a 12-month touch point system. So the relationship does not end. Top agent habits. So what sets the top agents apart? I will say the top agents in the brokerage will have structured systems on how they deal with it. They will have checklists, they will have folders, they will have processes on how they submit transactions. A lot of them have admin that help them with a lot of this stuff, but if you don't, they probably started off with the structured systems and then an admin took over eventually. They've mastered the brokerage required forms that we spoke about. They are confident when guiding buyers, clear communication. So they're answering their phone, they're picking up their texts, even when things are going wrong, the agent is still involved. So you guys don't just like, if something goes wrong in the transaction and you guys get to bail, you still have to do clear communication. And of course, accurate documentation. I can't stress that enough. So action items for the week. What you want to do is review your current buyer process this week. Is there anything that we just mentioned that you're not doing? Is there certain paperwork like a transaction report that you're not doing? Are we not doing the FinTrack? Are we not doing receipt of funds? We need to make sure that your buyer process is correct. And if you're not very good at making sure that you have full packages, then you may need to think about creating your own personal buyer process checklist or use the checklist that we provide for you guys. But this is really important. If you want to go more in depth with the forms, because I didn't go over each form with you guys, Ginny is your girl. So contact Ginny if you want some help on each of those forms that we spoke about. If you are very interested in going really in depth to the buyer process, I do have an online course that goes step by step exactly what to do with the buyers, even including like when to send a testimonial, what to say when you walk in the house. So if you want more in depth, you can do the online course. And yeah, if you're an agent with us, I'm going to send you guys some docs too after this. If you really want to stay compliant, we have a checklist of the documents for you guys. It's up here. It's presented everywhere in the office. It's on the Google Drive. So if you guys are ever confused on which documents to hand in, we have the buyer documents, the listing documents, a self-represented party, as well as multiple representation. So hopefully this will be a nice checklist guide of what paperwork you guys need. And it's our internal checklist for the office. You guys may even think about creating a step-by-step process. So just to kind of start to get yourself organized, make sure you're not missing anything. I've created a buyer process checklist that's very boring, Microsoft, but it will do step-by-step. Again, you may be in a point in your career where you're ready to hire a buyer's agent or you want to have help with clients or you want to hire an assistant. The only way to get to that next level is by having checklists and systems so you can be like, hey, these are the roles I'm going to do. These are the things that you're going to do. And that's what's going to help you guys get to that process. I remember when I worked as an assistant to agents, they were detailed and they had a checklist of all of their duties, and then I had my checklist of duties. And the only reason they had assistants is because they were organized in that way. We also have the online checklist for you guys on Canva. So if you want client checklists, you want to customize your checklist, we have a whole library to them on here too that dives into deep on things you should look out for in a home. So it talks about electrical, plumbing, all that stuff, just for your own reminder of things to look out for. So we have a whole whack of checklists available for you guys on the Google Drive. I even went ahead and did one. If your brain works like this, you can go on ChatGPT and create a buyer journey. The spelling is terrible on these. I don't know why it does that. This is not my writing, but I don't know why ChatGPT does that. It can't spell on anything. If you guys ever make a flyer or a poster, it will never spell anything correctly. It's the wildest thing, but your brain may think like this. Pink is typically what an agent-facing duty is. So we discussed all of these steps today. An orange would be compliance. So you can see these orange boxes down here are compliance checks. And then the green, these are the administrative roles. So if you were hiring an admin and this is the way your brain thinks, this would be a good checklist for you. Please don't judge the spelling. I quit, so, but you can do something like this as well. But checklist will keep you guys on top of everything. And then for next week, November 12th, we're going to end off our back to school series. We are on the final stretch. We're going to be talking the same type of thing that we just did today on how a deal works, but I'm going to be talking about the seller side. So we're going to talk about what listing paperwork you need, how to market the property, how to do an offer presentation and negotiate on your seller behalf, different buyer conditions and what their job is as a listing agent on how to get ready for those conditions as well, how you guys work with lawyers, and then what the office admin steps are. So that's next week's session. If you missed any of the sessions, they are on YouTube all weeks 1 to 4, and then I'll be posting this one today, so you guys can watch that afterwards. Does anyone have any questions? I have a bigger audience online today. No? You guys are all professionals. Claire, do you have anything?
No.
Did I satisfy the brokerage stuff? We wanted compliance in there for our RICO audit that is coming, so they know that we talk about this. Alex.
What's it?
Yeah, we learned that we need financial bank accounts. Is that new? Or what else? Yeah. Yeah, like there's so many people. There should be a better system for it. Like we've got a guy in our office for you online that is a mortgage broker and also doing all of these like fin tracks and audits. The lawyers are doing it. The mortgage brokers were saying like why we have to do so much compliance when there could just be one system. Maybe it's just the lawyers handling it. I think it should just be the lawyers handling it or the mortgage brokers, the guys lending the money. It's a really hard, responsible job for a realtor to take that on, I think, but maybe one day we'll fix that for you, Claire. Awesome. So if anyone has any questions, just shoot me a message. I will email out the recording. And then if you're with the brokerage as well, you'll get all my checklists and all that stuff too. So we will catch up with you guys next week.